Position correctly? Should I move it all?
No.
Well, here we are. Anyway, congratulations on the marriage and
Thank you.
the Freakatorium and this was this must be a real dream to have something like this, the Freakatorium here.
It's great. The dream was a long time ago, and then seeing it evolve and take shape, and I mean, it surprises me. It's like this living thing to take care of, and
yeah, tell me about this. I mean, I mean, this thing. I was here 3 years ago, and I know you have certainly great performing history and background, and then having a museum, it's almost like it's a different thing. I mean, I'm sure you were collecting, your whole life. Or maybe we can start with that. I mean, was collecting part of your performing history, or
I found out about the collecting world in around '78. Some friends of mine were collecting baseball cards, and I was thinking, I don't know, baseball cards. I started buying some old maps. I was thinking, what would I collect? Old maps seem interesting. It's not baseball cards. Baseball cards, it doesn't do anything for me. And then I was thinking, what other kinds of things? Friends were saying, hey man, I'm making these investments in baseball cards. Look at this, they go up and up and up. And I was thinking, well, all these people are doing baseball cards. How about if I do? Nobody's paying attention to basketball, and so I started buying all these Michael Jordan rookies, and it's like, hey, they're going up in price. Hey, great, Jordan, of course, he's be a Hall of Famer, but it still doesn't do anything for me. And the maps aren't doing nothing for me. And I found out about magicians' collectors conventions, and that I was originally interested in finding more of the quality crafted magician's apparatus made from 1800s up to the 1940s. Craftsmen took great pride in their work, and these conventions that magicians have a couple of a year. A gentleman, Ray Goulet, started one in New England. The New England Magic Collectors Convention has one, and then Jay Marshall, who was a magic shop owner and old vaudevillian up in Chicago, had one. I think Jay's may have been the first one. And these collectors just were devouring and embracing the history of magic. And this is where Ricky Jay comes into all that. Ricky also grew up in around Manhattan. His grandfather was a great magician in Manhattan. He's like third generation. But as a historian, I was really impressed with what Ricky was doing to preserve the history of unusual artists. So I started finding more about.
That sounds like a huge piece of metal banging against my mic.
where?
Oh, did I tap my foot?
Or maybe with the.
Oh yeah, it certainly is, isn't it?
Where is it?
It's
Oh,
right
sure.
there.
Your involvement in this and how important it is to you to preserve this history. I mean, people like Ricky Jay kind of set the
Right.
standard.
Ricky definitely got the wheels going with several people, and there was a few other people that got Ricky going on it. For me, I found out about the history of other sword swallowers. Carmi, who you see posters around here of, one of them is in really bad condition. But that one was given to me on the street by a guy who told me he found it in his grandmother's attic and he wanted me to have it. So I didn't restore it, although I do have another one that is in mint condition. I wanted to have that one mounted and just the way it was. The only thing that was restored, I think, was the R on cracker, so you could read the word cracker. Swallows a loaded gun barrel and shoots a cracker from a man's head. I recreated that stunt and have performed it half a dozen times, special occasions.
But that poster was given to you from somebody?
That poster was given to me on the street when I was street performing.
I'm going to pause a second to move left.
I guess just the thing about preserving all this stuff. I mean, I'm just wondering, does it, do most magicians and performers do this? Or you said you came to it from the sword swallowing. You were preserving the history of sword swallowing.
Sword swallowing and other unusual performers that did things, self-made freaks, as I sometimes call them, working acts that they're sometimes known as in the sideshows, people that weren't born deformed but worked in the sideshows, as in Dan Mannix, fire eaters, pin cushions, sword swallowers, geeks, glass eaters, blockheads. But then there's also regurgitators and other skilled people that people would put skills in. And then there were a lot of sideshow human anomalies who learned talents such as Prince Randian and rolling the cigarettes with his mouth. And then there was Otis Jordan, who also adopted that whole thing, Otis the Cigarette Factory, they called him after he was Otis the Frog Boy. He wanted to have a talent. He wasn't satisfied with just exhibiting himself as a human oddity, such in the cases also with Sandra Reed, who is an albino. She and her sister exhibited themselves, and Sandra decided she wanted to become a sword swallower. She wanted to have a talent that she'd go on perform with. So I wanted to have the history of sword swallowers. Who else had there been before me that was a sword swallower that had taken it to higher levels, to had brought it to an artistic level? As the Carmine wasn't the only one. There was also Edith Clifford, who had traveled extensively in Europe. The Cliffords, she worked with her husband. There's a great poster of her in Learned Pigs and Fireproof Women, where she's swallowing all different objects, cannons, bayonets, scissors, and she dressed elegantly throughout her performance. There were a few other sword swallowers that pushed it to a higher artistic level for working in vaudeville. People wanted to make good money and wanted to be headline acts. It was a competitive thing, such in the cases also with comedy clubs. I pushed myself to work in comedy clubs because I wanted to keep testing myself and to keep pushing the limits and throwing myself in the fire and seeing how I hold up to stand-up comedians and working in opening acts in Vegas and Atlantic City and street performing and feeling what the audience's reactions were. And I wanted to go for a wide range, a wide audience. One of the greatest compliments that I treasure in my career is having an 80-year-old woman come up to me saying, "I just love your act, and I want to bring my friends to see your act." It's having a sense of humor, having the comedy in there, entertaining the people. Anybody can swallow a sword. Bobby Reynolds said it very well a few weeks ago when we were down in Maryland. He said, "You can shake any tree and 10 sword swallowers will fall out of it, but find one that can entertain, you're going to be shaking 100 trees."